Hi, friends. Welcome to Thursday Night Conversation with Parents Who Write. This is the fifth episode now. I'm very excited about this one. Tonight, I am going to be joined by Camisha Broussard, who is a mom of four, a English college professor, and a new author. Camisha is the author of Daddy Issues, a memoir about loving an alcoholic father who couldn't love himself. She is also working on her next book, Before You Die, which explores a son's desire to die. The idea for this fictional book originated from personal loss. Within 1 year, Camisha knew two mothers who lost their children to suicide. That devastation prompted her to stop avoiding the subject of suicide and talk with her own son who battles depression. That conversation led to this new book, which is helping them both as mother and son are working on this book together. In her spare time, Camisha loves trying to make homemade pizza for her husband and her 4-year-old and is learning to garden. So Camisha is here and I am going to bring her in.
There you are.
Hey, Erin, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I am mommying and wifing,
Oh,
apparently.
fun times. So, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I'm really excited about this conversation.
I am too. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna try to get him squared away. Okay. Hopefully we're good.
You know what?
It's,
So,
it's called parents, right?
we are parents, and this is real world. And two thoughts. One, when I go live, like right at 8 o'clock, my 6-year-old likes to come down at 7:58 and get a hug
hmm
before running back upstairs.
Absolutely.
Right. And I'm like, okay, I love you. Like, Dad's got you for this one.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
and then second, have you seen Don't Look Up on Netflix?
No. What is that?
It is amazing and it is enraging for good reasons. But it's with Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence, and there's a meteor that is coming and it's going to destroy the planet. And it
Uh,
becomes very political and people just ignore it. And when the media starts pulling them in to start talking about the meteor, um, they're always like, yeah, you guys have had no media training. They've had no media training. And so that's what I always think, like, when I'm doing these shows, I've had no media training. I'm just a mom who's coming in here to talk about writing.
awesome. You do
Oh,
awesome.
well, thank you. So,
You're
uh,
welcome.
again, thank you so much for joining me for tonight's show. I'm really excited to get
Mhm.
started because you are awesome.
Thank you. I
You
try.
you are. The first questions that I usually start with are actually, like, I want to know, well, first, actually, can you tell us a little bit about your family and where you live?
Okay. So I am originally from Chicago, and I moved in 2007. I relocated to Houston, Texas. It was the only city at the time where I was married, and it was the only city where we had family for the most part. And then, did I lock my husband out?
Go ahead. Okay. I love the real worldness of this.
I did not. I did not lock my husband out. I heard fumbling at the doorknob. Um, so at the time, I was married. I had 3 boys, and Chicago just wasn't working for us anymore. So we moved to
Mm.
the only city where one of us had family, and it was his family. By 2009, we were on our way to divorce. I was a school teacher teaching special ed, and I was like, okay, how am I going to make this work? I found a job with a community college in the area, got hired immediately. Of course, you can have some white note here. The mommies who are watching this are going to be like, yes! is. Um, so immediately, I hope that this isn't distracting for anyone, but got a
Go ahead.
job, and thank you. And when I did, I was able to keep us where we had been, and that worked out wonderfully. That was 2009, 2010, we actually divorced. Later that year, I met this guy by accident. One of my boys had gotten into some trouble, and I had to hire an attorney. And I remember he was late coming into court, and I was like, okay, this is just not going to work. I don't do late. Late is unacceptable. And all of these attorneys would come into court, and I'm like, okay, that's not him. Okay, that's not him. That can't be him. And when he did finally come to court, I said, oh, okay, well, maybe traffic was heavy, something could have happened, and it's understandable. That was in like April, and I didn't see him again until October. We bumped into each other at a restaurant, and we were looking, and I knew who he was immediately, but he didn't know who I was. You have one attorney, but your attorney has several clients. And he said, Devon's mom. And I was like, hey, Devon's attorney. And we started talking. And he said, hey, go out to dinner with me. And I'm like, hey, can we do that? He was like, first of all, you're not my client. Your son was my client. And that case was months ago. He was like, go out to dinner with me. So I said, okay, I'll go out to dinner. Have some fun. I was really divorced. I'm just going to be honest. I felt like, I was a mom of 3 boys. I was divorced. And truth be told, I have 2 ex-husbands. That's covered in the book. By that time, I had 2 ex-husbands. I'm like, this isn't going to go any further than us having just a nice time and getting to know each other. So let's just go ahead and have at it. And he proposed that was 2010 when we started. He proposed in 2015. And the odd thing was, it's so crazy because our first date, right? You know how you meet somebody, you're just like talking crap. You don't mean anything you're saying, right? Nothing. He said, would you be open to having another baby? I was like, yeah, sure. I was 38 at the time. So I was like, yeah, that's not a problem. I'm a baby making machine. You want another baby? I knew we weren't going to actually have a baby. And when he proposed, he said, okay, well, I need you to start looking up IVF clinics. And I'm like, we're really doing that? Like, that was years ago. I was 38 years old. I'm like 42 now. And that's what we did. So my family consists of 4 boys, 30, 26, 22, and 4. The 30-year-old is by my first ex-husband. We got married when we were 18. I tell him all the time, that don't even count, dude. Don't tell people that. And he agrees. We didn't know what we were doing. The 2 boys that are brothers, and the one of them who battles with depression, their father and I were married for 15 years. And
oh, wow.
My husband and I, we were 15 years in. And my husband, I am so sorry, but he's not going to.
No, it's okay. He's like, get me my white milk, mama.
Exactly. Very specific. My husband now, I tell him, I say, this is till death do us part. So that's it, dude. 3 times the charm. But he's a wonderful guy. Great stepfather. Absolutely great stepfather. And he does his thing, and he encourages me to do my thing.
That's amazing. I'm so glad that you found your true love.
I did. Every day I'm happy. And for me, the most interesting thing is I found it when I wasn't looking for it. And this is one of the things that, daddy issues goes into that. Daddy issues goes into, me constantly trying to fill a void. And it wasn't until, I'll just be honest. People who know me know I'm brutally honest. I'm very transparent. It wasn't until I felt like, you know what, Camisha, you completely messed this up, and there are no second chances. Here, sweetheart, you are a divorcee with 2 ex-husbands and 3 boys. Really, honestly, what are the odds? So I embraced, what I felt like I had gotten myself into. And at that point, it was, okay, how do I make it better from this point on? And it truly not looking for love. I adore him. I adore him. I respect him. I admire him. I try to be just like him in many cases. And it's not that fairy tale thing. It's that real, hey, let's work it out. Let's get in the trenches together. Hey, you go over there. I'll go over here. I love you today. Don't like you tomorrow. It's real. And
Yeah.
I think that God knows what he's doing.
That is a beautiful story, and that's all included in your book, because man, what a beautiful chapter to have in there, right? Like, as in, like, this chapter of your life, like, this beautiful chapter.
Yeah, the part about my husband, that's more so just in the acknowledgments, and I'm letting him know how much I love him. The book, I really try to focus it on understanding that although my dad was the man he was, the woman that I chose to be was dependent on me. And I had to take the reins and stop making excuses and stop blaming. I had to take a realistic look at myself and learn to love my dad for the opportunity he gave me. And the opportunity he gave me was life. And I had to love him just for that. If for nothing else, it was just for that. So the book attempts to really keep things in perspective. So for that reason, my husband is only in the acknowledgments part. But he was in there every day saying, hey, finish your book, finish your book, finish your book. And when I started this book when my father passed away in 2002. I started it in 2002 when he passed away. I picked it back up when COVID hit. By that time, so many things had changed. I literally had to throw away 60% of my book and start all over again.
Wow.
That hurt. That hurt.
Wow. So when I was, which college? AU or Hopkins? AU. It's a think. When I was at AU studying literature, my class do a live reading for Doris Lessing, and amazing writer, bitty old grandma, love her to bits. And I went up for the book signing, and I asked her, what advice do you have for new writers? And she looked me in the eye and said, don't be afraid to rip up and throw out.
Well, I was afraid, but I did it.
You did it. You ripped it up and you threw it out.
I ripped it up and threw it out and don't remember one word from what I threw away.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah. So, what do you love about writing? What is it that makes you write? What is the pull, the draw,
I think that there's a thought that will not go away. And it starts as a very, very simple seed, a very simple seed. And it just doesn't go away. It keeps nagging at me. It keeps whispering. And then, you take pen to paper or fingers to keypad, and you're like, okay, let's see what happens next. I think that what brings me to the pad is the thought, the idea, that weird thing that's like, oh, that's a good idea. What keeps me coming back is the surprise of what ends up on the page.
Ooh.
I never know what's going to end up on the page. And, there are times where I sit down and I'm like, I don't have a thought. I don't have an idea. And then I'll have an idea for a sentence, or I'll have an idea for a word. And that sentence will lead to something else. And I start to see it forming, and I'm like, wow. And when those moments where, like, the character says something, and you're like, oh my God, where did that come from? That's weird. That's what keeps me coming back to writing. But initially, the writing begins with just a thought that comes out of nowhere. Before you die, I remember thinking to myself, the worst, right? What if a parent gave their child permission to commit suicide?
Wow.
What if they had those conversations? You know, I think about so many people that I know, and I say so many, and when I say so many, one is too many. Really, honestly,
Yeah.
one is too many.
Yeah.
But when I think about one of the main things that they regret is they regret not knowing why, not understanding why. So when I started to think about it in those terms, I said, oh, I can stay in denial about my circumstances. I can stay in denial about my son's situation. Or I can be brave enough to say, hey, let's have this talk. And it was through the conversation. I had no idea that it was going to end up being a book. But through that conversation, I was like, okay, there's something here. You know, there's somebody out there who's contemplating suicide. And they wish they could talk about it openly and honestly. They wish that it wasn't just dismissed. They wish that they weren't sent to a therapist every time they mention it. They want to talk to somebody about how they're feeling. And my son and I had a 3-hour conversation. And that 3-hour conversation made me understand that somebody else could benefit from this as well. Even though it's going to be fiction, somebody else might read this and be like, I don't like it. I don't understand it. I wish it didn't exist. I hate it. I wish I could beat it up. But at least now I know. I know more than I would have known because denying it doesn't teach us anything. So that's where that one came from. It was a thought, and then what unfolds after the thought. Who knows what's going to end up on that paper?
Who knows? Say that again. Sorry.
I said, who knows what's going to end up on that page?
Right? Because you're still exploring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And you're working on the book with your son.
Yes. I want the perspective of the person who's suffering from depression to be authentic. I don't want to make that up. So what I do is I write a chapter, and he reads over it. And if there's something that's not realistic, he'll be like, yeah, that's not right. And one of the things I've learned from him is that my mind can't go where his mind goes. It just can't. You know, I could have the best imagination in the world, but my mind can never go to where his mind goes. And there are some things that he's corrected, and he's called me out on, and I'm like, I would never. I'm like, why does that happen? Why do you think that? And he's like, Mama, I don't know. This is what's in my head. And when I hear it, I'm saying to myself, I don't know if I could do that. You know, yeah. I don't know if I could be in a room by myself in the dark and trying to go to sleep, and a voice pops in my head, and I have a conversation with that voice. I don't know if I could do that. So I'll write it, he'll read it, and he'll tell me what's authentic or not. And then he does his best to try to make me understand it, and then I revise it. And there have been times I've given it back to him, and he's like, that's better. That's a whole lot better, Mama. And those are the hardest chapters. Because I'm like, oh my God, why can't I fix it? And that's what the book is about. The book is about a parent trying to fix it, and it can't be fixed.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, just wow. I'm looking forward to that one coming out. It sounds weird to say I'm looking forward to, but just the complexity of it and the depth and the background is all, I mean, that's the reason why we read and write in the first place, right? To understand other people's experiences, to gain new perspective, to expand our understanding of even ourselves. So that's just mind-blowing, honestly. Like, you know, it's a bad pun to be using right now, I feel. Okay, anyway, I'm going to hide right now. But that is just ultimately inspiring, the fact that you're able to have that conversation with your son and understand him on this level, and not only to help the two of you, but to create something that hopefully can help other families in the future. I mean, that's beautiful. That again, like even when I'm sharing my own personal essays, I always think like it would be nice if there's just that one person that I can help. One that makes it worth it.
Yeah. Yes, sweetheart. Okay, you'll be right back. Okay, I'll stay here and wait patiently. Um, yeah, it's there's something about being heard that can make a difference. We can't determine what that difference is going to look like, but there's something about being heard that relieves a little bit of pain. And this is just what I get from my son. To not be dismissed, to not be contradicted, to not be challenged, to just listen. And I have my moments, where I'm like, dude, I don't get it. I don't understand. Don't they? First thing we say, don't they have medicines to fix that? And people don't want to hear that. No one wants to hear that. No one wants to hear, and I know that there are going to be parents who've lost their children. I know there are going to be parents who are going through this, and I know they're going to say, this is the worst possible thing you could ever do, is tell me to give my child permission to commit suicide. But the book takes a very interesting turn.
Yeah, because you said that it's.
Say about that.
Yeah, because you also said that like there's one condition, and so
Yep.
I'm very, very curious what the one condition is. But I'm assuming that's the tease for the hook for the book, and that's I'm very curious what the one condition is. So keep me posted on the progress and how far in are you?
I am 27,000 words in. The goal is 50,000. So I think we let out of school like May 15th, around May 15th. The first draft will definitely be completed by no later than the end of June. That's the first draft. I'm looking for a publication date of around about December. So I've already started to get my beta readers ready, and they're tackling 5 chapters at a time.
Oh, wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah. Feedback so far has been pretty good.
Wow. Yeah. That's interesting. And that's also interesting. I didn't know that you could do the beta readers in progress. I always thought it was like at the end when you've completed. So news for me.
Yeah, well, I believe, here's my thing. I look at what other people do, and then I'm like, okay, I want to do this. And one of the things I learned from Daddy Issues is I would love to have had my beta readers' feedback while it was developing, because it's not going to change my mind. It's definitely not going to change my mind about anything that I write. But the worst thing for me was to go back through Daddy's Issues and go through the editing process, considering their feedback. I'm like, okay, I wish I had known that when I was actually writing this chapter. So what I do is I get their feedback on previous chapters, and if I achieve my goal, I'm good. I know I don't have to go back. But if I didn't achieve my goal, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to rewrite those chapters. And they'll get it at the end when it's over, and then they'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
One of my favorite professors, when we were doing writing workshops, he told us that when we responded to other people's work, we started it off by saying, the purpose of this story is blank. And that right there told us right away, being like, oh, that wasn't the purpose of my story. I did not achieve my goal at all.
Exactly.
That one sentence, boom.
Yeah. And can you imagine how you would feel having a 500-word manuscript and you're like, dude, that wasn't it at all.
Yeah. That was at the beginning of a novel that I have been working on and that I put on hold when I had kids. And 2 characters who absolutely hated each other, and everybody said about how there was like this underlining romance that was ready, and I was like, oh no, absolutely no. And they're like, well, the hate is so high that you really expect that passion to, and I yeah. So I was like, okay, I actually have to tone down how much they hate each other because it's, yeah. So I'm glad that I know that now.
Wow.
Earlier in the book, that
Right.
the passion of hate was way too high, that they interpreted it as.
Right. And see, I would have gone, as a writer, I would have gone a different route. I would have kept the passion high. I would have kept that hatred high. And I would have created a backstory as to why they hated each other so much.
Mm.
Because I would want to keep the reader thinking that this is what's going to happen. And it's not what's going to happen, but they didn't understand, oh, okay, that's why they can't stand each other. Oh, that makes sense. And I would have created some type of history, some type of backstory, some type of connection between the two.
I do have that, actually. Before I started working on the book, I created backstories for all of my characters so that I would be able to understand them really well. And so I wrote down basically every major event that occurred in their life to shape them into the person they are now. So I know why they loathe each other.
Build it in. Build it in. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Right now, it's white.
Yeah, no, it's definitely built into the story much further down. But thank you for the tip. Now I never had a chance to go back and edit that chapter because then I had my baby. So the feedback was sitting there. Yeah. Yes. I was a classic one of the, I'm not going to stop writing when I have my baby. No, because I'm going to be on maternity leave and I'll have all this extra time and I'll get all this extra writing down. I'm never going to stop writing.
Okay. Let us know how that works out for you.
Yeah. 6 years later, I'm finally writing again.
Good. It doesn't go away. And I think that for me, had I released Daddy Issues way back when I first wrote it in 2002, had I released it, it would have been a catastrophe because I was angry. I was very, very angry. So it would not have been nearly the strong voice that it is now. And that's what I get a lot of. The feedback that I get is that it really taps into people emotionally. Fathers especially, a lot of fathers have told me that it lets them know, it validates their importance. Even though my dad was alcoholic, even though he wasn't there, when fathers read it, they're like, you know what, I get it. I understand my role. And I'm glad that you wrote it that way. So if I had have written that when I was younger, it wouldn't be the same book.
Wow.
So sometimes we just gotta wait.
Yeah. And my writing has changed drastically in the last 6 years. I started out with poetry and fiction, and then when I came back to writing, I actually went headfirst into creative nonfiction, and I had never, ever tried that before.
Yeah.
And now it's like the only thing that I want to write right now. Fiction is calling to me, but my passion right now is creative nonfiction. So,
Welcome to the club.
So, when do you make time to write? And I'm curious how that has changed from when your kids were little, and you've got a 4-year-old now, so you still have a little, but how has that making time to write shifted over time, especially for us parents?
Now I would say that what I do is I designate days and times. And I'm like, okay, on this day, I'm going to write, period. I approach writing now like I approach my job or I approach my mothering life. If I'm going to make an appointment, doctor's appointment for Bryce at 9 o'clock, then Bryce is in school from 8 o'clock-ish to about 2:30, 3 o'clock-ish. I'm going to front load my work for my college. I'm going to front load that. And then I'm going to say, okay, on this particular day, when Bryce is at school, I'm writing all day. The difference now from how I used to write is I used to just kind of sit down and it just kind of be creative. You know, whatever comes. There's no urgency. If I get to it, I do. If I don't, I don't. That's not the case anymore. Now time is very, very precious. So if I'm front loading my workload, if I'm trying to get all of my household stuff together and just clearing the path for a day and a time to write, then that's going to happen, period. If I sit there in front of a blank screen, I'm going to sit there in front of that blank screen for a number of hours that I designated for that particular event. I'm not going to let anything come in between that. But in all honesty and all truth, that might only be once a week now. But I'm constantly writing down my ideas. You know, I have a little book, little journal, and it's dedicated only to before you die. So when I have an idea, I write it down. And I might write like a chapter. Hey, this is what happens in this chapter. And I'll just go for it. And that's no matter where I am. I could be working on my grading. I could be in the kitchen cooking. And if an idea comes, I'm going to grab that tablet. I'm going to grab a pen. I'm going to write it down. And then I know I got kind of a springboard when I go and sit down to write. And that helps me a lot.
I love that advice. That is brilliant. I always encourage my people to make writing accessible no matter where you are. So whether that's notes in my phone, I have a journal in my purse, I use Google Docs so I can switch back and forth from my phone to my laptop just so that when the idea hits, notepads in the kitchen, like wherever I can scribble my little idea, it's recorded so that, when I make that time to write, I, like you said, a springboard.
Yeah. And it works for me. I have I'm just like you, Erin. I got stuff all over the place. Notepads. I use have you ever used the recording feature on your cell phone?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. I'll do that when I'm driving. I'll be driving. I'll be like, oh, then I'll grab my phone and I'll start recording. And I'm like, okay, let me give it a title and I'm good to go. So yeah. I think capturing ideas is the most important.
I have to do voice to notes, not the voice memo itself, because the minute, like, the thoughts will be flowing in my head when I'm driving, and the minute I hit that record and I see you sitting there waiting, everything disappears. So I have to instead, I don't know what it is, just this mental block of it's recording and there's all this empty airspace and I can't fill it now. And it's so annoying. So instead it's more me talking to the phone and saying, Siri, make this note. And hopefully that didn't that didn't interrupt the video, me calling upon
I know, right? Phone. Siri would be like, making note now.
Stop, I'm recording. So that's more how I do my while I'm driving voice too. Or there's times where I've texted my husband and I'm just recording a line so I don't forget it.
I've done that. I've like text my husband. He's like, what? I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm going to text myself.
Right. Yes. I meant that one to go to me. Yes. Oh, I love it. Because it's like this idea. I don't want to forget it. Right. And then I have for Aqua Notes. I don't use Aqua Notes, but I think that is great for in the shower.
Yeah, I've never used it.
Yeah. But I just thought it was funny. I'm like, that is great. There is somebody out there who depends upon Aqua Notes for their shower.
Somebody very skilled, I'll tell you that, because it couldn't be me.
I like to just veg out in the shower and not think about anything.
Exactly.
I love how organic our conversation is, because we inevitably cover a ton of the questions that I already have, which is great. Here's a good one. Can you share something you learned about the writing process or the craft that was a game changer for you?
Be honest. Be honest. Especially in creative nonfiction. Don't try to hide. Don't try to sugarcoat. Don't try to make it seem like, I really don't want to say this, so how can I say it differently? My editor called me out on that. And she was like, why are you being a chicken? I'm like, what? And she said, I don't know what you're trying to say. I think I know what you're trying to say. She said, but that's not my job. That's not the reader's job. She said, write what you mean. And don't be afraid. And I was afraid. So I actually wrote what I meant. And I think it was something about the power of the female body. And that whole misnomer that there's power in the female body, and that power has the ability to shape a man's mind. I said, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. The power of a woman's body, and this was really hard for me because I'm like, ooh, I don't really want to tackle that subject, but I had to. And for me, what came out of it was wonderful because what came out of it that I didn't even know was inside of me was the power of the female body is hers exclusively to do with what she pleases, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the man. Nothing at all. And a man's mind can't be changed by the female body. And if it is changed, it's only a matter of time before he changes it to something else because we're made so differently. When she told me to say what you mean and don't be afraid, don't be afraid, that was a game changer for me. It completely shifted daddy issues because then I found myself on my back and I had found the courage to write things in chapters that I was afraid to write. And there was something that was beyond empowering about putting those words there and knowing that they're going to be there forever, right? No matter what happens, they're going to be there forever. But there was this freedom in being okay with that and just letting it go and saying, hey, this is me. Take it or leave it. You're my tribe or you're not my tribe. Let's find out. So, transparency and don't be afraid. Game changers.
I agree wholeheartedly. You phrased it so eloquently. Thank you. What
Thank
advice
you.
do you, well, what advice do you have for writers who fear the honesty because of I've heard two different things from people. It's either the fear of facing mistakes that they've made or the fear of judgment from others that like they're going to be sharing stuff that other people are going to get angry about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So basically, judgment and backlash are two of the things that I see that hold writers back the most.
Okay. I would say when it comes to facing the things that we've done in our past, they're not going away. Mm-hmm. They're always going to be there. We determine when we're going to confront them and when we're going to overcome them. So that's going to look different from one person to another. But I would say when you are the most afraid is when you need to write it down because it's the most powerful. And why exactly are we writing? Are we writing words that are safe? Or are we writing words to really, really touch somebody and really find our tribe and really connect and find that person who is going through the same thing and they can't find the words. They don't have the words. They don't have the strength. If that's not why we're doing it, then don't publish it. Just write it for yourself and keep it for yourself. But if we're then come to the page completely transparent. And fear is okay. It's okay to be afraid to confront your past. But there is so much freedom in doing so and following through with that and calling yourself to the carpet. And you come out of it on the other end. You come out of it not just a better writer, but a better person. And that's what you want. And the more you do it, the stronger you get and the better you get. When it comes to judgment, get over it. Get over it. And be okay with that. Be okay, hey, that's your opinion. That's your view. I get it. I can respect it. But this is me. And this is me and this is my story. These are my words and I'm going to tell my story in my words because I'm the one who has to walk this journey. And when you tell your story in your words, I may not agree with some of the things you say, but I'm going to be right there rooting you on because it's your story to tell. So when it comes to judgment, get over it. My grandma used to say, they judge Jesus. And she said, what makes you think you any better than him?
Wise woman.
You have to be true to yourself. If you're not true to yourself, you're never going to enjoy it. You're never going to be fulfilled. You have to be true to yourself.
Yeah, no, I agree. When I started my blog, which was my first step into creative nonfiction, and I hated my writing. Of course, I was judging it because I felt I was so rusty. Everything, it just felt, I was like, I need to dig deeper. I need to dig deeper. It's not clear enough. It's not deep enough. I'm not getting at the truth enough. But I still kept doing it because I needed to get the story out.
Right.
And I was afraid of the judgment, but I had reached a point where your judgment isn't going to change my experience. And I am allowed to own my experience and share that.
Mm-hmm.
And then also hopefully be able to let it go.
Yeah.
And release it.
Yeah.
And that was, yes, absolutely liberating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My thing is, I'll never take away your judgment. Your judgment is yours. It's yours. It's not mine. So have at it. Enjoy it. Do whatever you want to do with it. But it's not something I'm going to take. It's not something I'm going to own. It's not something I'm going to, embrace. That's for you to work out. But this is my story, and I have to stay true to myself.
You're amazing. I love this conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We
are well past our normal half hour, but it's so exciting and it's hard to stop. Yeah, we are 43 minutes in. So you look like you're right. But it's such a good conversation. Talking about parenting and books and writing. Like, I could talk about that for hours and hours. And yeah,
it's a beautiful thing to find your tribe,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So are you good for another question or two?
Yeah, go ahead. All right. I'm sitting here making a tomato avocado salad.
Ooh, very nice. I'm assuming that's not for your 4-year-old.
No, this is for my 53-year-old.
Nice. Did you eat dinner tonight? Did you actually sit down and enjoy your dinner tonight?
I'm going to have pizza.
I love the fact that you made such a lovely salad, and for you, you're just like, I had that last night.
Ordering pizza.
That was, nice. But you're going to sit down and you're going to enjoy it.
Every single piece of sausage and pepperoni, yes, I am.
I'm all about the sausage. My husband likes the pepperoni. Let's see. My God, just answered so many. Ooh, here's one of my favorite questions. Do you feel that writing has helped you to be a better parent? How?
Yeah, I do. So I do think writing has helped me be a better parent.
The thing about the book is it showed my sons what commitment looks like. And that was really important. We started in the very beginning. They knew I was going to do this. They knew where I was headed with it. And they knew how hard it was. So the process of actually sitting down and finishing, that showed them, okay, I can do this. And I think that was one of the most important things. But what it also does is it tells them about their grandfather that they really did not know. Wow. And that's huge. So now they have this artifact, and they'll have it for the rest of their lives, which explains to them exactly how they came to be. Wow. So in that respect, it's made me a better parent to them because now they know who their mother is, truly.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's, again, you are just full of inspiration. I'm going to be quoting you a lot. I love to hear that.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you.
Oh, well, the only little sliver that I've seen, well, okay, no, let me back that up. Writing helps me to unclutter my mind and offload. I deal with anxiety. I deal with a bit of depression, and writing helps me to release that so that I'm in a better space for parenting my kids. So in that way, writing helps me. But also, my son discovered a Word doc on his laptop because, of course, graders get laptops because if they have to go virtual, and he discovered a Word doc and he typed it, or he popped it open, and he was like, Mama, look, I'm writing an article. And like, it was all gibberish, but he was clacking away on the computer and he was so excited. And I was just like, I wish that I could video record that moment to keep it forever, or, you know, write about it. But it was just amazing to be able to see that even though I don't talk about my writing so much with him, he sees me working on it, and he's now fascinated by it and emulating that. And so that's exciting.
So you're going to have 2 authors in the family.
I hope. Well, you know, I recently published a personal essay, Erin P.T, How My Irish Heritage Found Me. And in that, I discussed the fact that the Cannings over in Ireland, there are a lot of writers in our family line. So, genetics. But yeah, there are a lot of Cannings who write.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to yours.
Thank you. Yes, I would. He wrote his first book in kindergarten, so I have it. He told me a story, and I wrote it down, and then that was his handwriting practice. So that he practiced the handwriting on the on lined paper, and then we folded it, put a construction paper top on it. He colored pictures to it, and so yes, like I will never ever give that up. That is a keepsake for sure. But it's his first book about him going to the grocery store and having to fight a mechanical snake.
That sounds very interesting. I think you all should do something like that.
Yeah. Right? Turn it into a kid's book. Yeah. Going to the grocery store and fighting a mechanical snake. Why the snake was there, I don't know.
You definitely have to do something with that. I would read that.
That's awesome. I'm going to tell him about that. He'll be so excited. Yeah. Cool. I've taken notes from him also. Like, he just has such an imagination. And so when he says these random things, I just record them in my notes app. He had this beautiful start to a story that was something like, here's something I haven't told you in a long time ago, 1,000 years and 23 seconds. And like, it was just this amazing, yeah. And like, it was students who had to sit down at their desks next to dragons. It was like 4 sentences, but I was like, this is the beginning of an amazing book. And then he ran off and watched Paw Patrol, but you know. So yeah, I have his little recording.
Seconds.
I don't know. So anyway, I love talking about my kids. So actually, we have come to my last question of the evening. I hope your audio will work for this. My last questions of the evening are, what's your favorite book? It's okay, you can pick more than one, but what's your favorite book? And what was your favorite book to read to your kids?
My favorite book, oh, that's tough. It's a toss-up between The Lovely Bones and Where the Crawdads Sing.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one, but I have read The Lovely Bones. It's sitting over here next to me somewhere.
You have got to get Where the Crawdads Sing.
Yeah? Okay. I'll buy it.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah? Okay. Well, I'm going to put a link to that below at the end of this video. So we'll have a link to it also, because I do that. Book recommendations. I love book recommendations. And then, what was your favorite book to read to your kids?
It's a dinosaur series, and it's How Do Dinosaurs Say Goodnight?
Oh,
Cute.
And we read it every night. And there's a part in there where it says the dinosaur throws his teddy bear across the room. And my son has this little bitty teddy bear, and he picks it up. When I read that part, he throws it across the room. And it's just so much fun.
That's precious. That's precious. I usually, we all have different books that we love, right? So I try to change up my favorite book at the end of this. Oh, here, I have to grab it. Here's one of my favorite books. It's backwards. Half of a Yellow Sun. Yeah, Half of a Yellow Sun.
Why does that sound weird?
The writing is absolutely phenomenal. The images I have never forgotten. It really I can't begin to recommend it enough. Absolutely beautiful, heartbreaking, devastating, but the writing is mind-blowing. I'm sorry, it's backwards, but half of a Yellow Sun. It was one of the books that I read for one of my lit classes, but we only got the first chapter. And I remember just being absolutely in love with the writing with the first chapter. And my professor had said, I promise you the rest of the book is just as amazing. And I got it. And she or he, because I don't remember which class it was absolutely right. So here's another one of my favorite books, which is why it's on the top shelf. Because my books are not in logical order. They're in order of, well, the top shelf is my all favorite. So yeah, the ones that have influence.
I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, I'm going to look up yours. So thank you. I have lovely bones. Yeah, so anyway, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. It's been absolutely wonderful. You are part of my tribe, so I look forward to staying in touch. And I really, really want to know when Before You Die comes out. And where can people find Daddy Issues? Is it on Amazon?
Yes, it is available on Amazon. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a coupon code for your viewers, so they'll be able to get it for 25% off.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Did you hear that, everybody? A 25% off coupon
You're
code.
welcome.
That's awesome. Thank you. You are amazing. So go.
I'm going to send it first thing in the morning.
Okay, you got it. Thank you. And go take care of your 4-year-old and your 53-year-old. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erin. I really, really enjoyed.
Me too. You're amazing. Thank you. Stay in touch. Bye. Good night, friends.
Will do. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.